Hello again. Our topic for second lesson is the mask. Mask is the essential tool of any visual effects application. What is masking and why is so important? As we saw in our previous lesson, when we overlap the two videos in the timeline, the video above completely covers the one below. So if we can show one footage at a time, how do we combine several images? That's where the mask comes in. We ensure that a specific area is visible on our layers and the rest is masked. Let's create our composition and drag our image. We mentioned that we have two ways to create a composition. One of them was to select composition, new composition from the menu above, and the other was to click on a small icon here. The third method is to drag and drop my video on the little icon here and create my composition according to the resolution, frame rate, and length data of the video. My video is in timeline now. If you press the mask tool from the toolbar, you will see that there are shapes such as triangle, ellipse, star. I select ellipse and click and drag on the preview monitor to create the mask line. Before starting masking, the layer must be selected. If the masking process is started without selecting the layer, a new shape layer will appear. While using shapes, if you hold down the Shift key, it will create a complete circle. And if you hold down the Control key, it will create a circle centered on your starting point. You can always update the mask line by moving the dots after drawing the shape. When you want to isolate an object in your image, we use Pen tool. To isolate the white horse, I click on the edge from my reference monitor to put my first point and move forward by putting dots to draw around the object. If I single click, it will make a point. However, when you hold and drag, your mask line will turn into a curve and you will be able to mask curved surface more easily. I'm going back to my starting point by completely circling the object. When I move my mouse over the point where I started, you will see the circle next to my pen tool indicating the mask will be closed. By clicking on the first point, I close my mask and isolate the remaining part. If you do not close your mask line, you will not be able to isolate any area. White horse is masked and the checkerboard appearance seen in the background indicates that the area is transparent. I can move my object freely. I drag the same video a second layer from the project panel and rename my first video to indicate that is the mask layer. I position the white horse here so it appears a little behind the other. I hold the dots on the corners to create perspective effect and shrink it by holding down the Shift key to maintain the aspect ratio. I reposition it. White horse in the back needs a reflection. After selecting the layer, duplicate from the edit menu above. Or if you are working with a Mac, Command or Ctrl D to create a copy. I rename the new layer and indicate it is a reflection layer. By clicking this little triangle, we reach the layer parameters. Since there is an active mask application in our layer, there is a part here with the parameters of the application. Transform is the part that contains the basic parameters of the layer. Position shows where the layer is on screen in X and Y coordinates. Scale controls the size of the layer, while it's possible to rotate by rotation. Opacity is the parameter used to specify the visibility. While 100% means full opaque, reducing the percentage ratio will add transparency to your layer. I want to rotate my layer symmetrically downwards. If I rotate with rotation, I can't get the mirror image. For this reason, I will use the scale parameter. By removing the chain, I can make independent changes in the X and Y axis. Then by writing a minus at the beginning of the value on Y axis, I get a mirror image. By changing the Y axis value from the position parameter, I move my object to a position where it can be a reflection. There are different blend modes in After Effects to interact two layers. I will make the blend mode of the reflection layer to hard light so that it integrates with the texture of the layer below. Each of these modes will be integrated into the underlying layer using different algorithms. I recommend you to try them all and use whatever is pleasing to your eyes. After changing the blend mode of my layer, I reduce the opacity parameter to make it look like a reflection. Values about 50 would be sufficient for this composition. In the next step, let's add depth of field. I hold the fast blur under sharpen and drop it onto mask white horse layer. Effect control tab is opened where my project panel was. By increasing the blur value, I make the object out of focus. I choose the same effect and copy it with Command or Ctrl C and paste it to my reflection layer with Command or Ctrl V. So both layers seems out of focus. Finally, let's add vignette. Right click and new solid. Select the black color. I created a black solid on top of other layers. Go to mask shapes and double click ellipse. It automatically creates an ellipse mask in layer size. Then I access the mask parameters by the small triangle here and choose subtract. This allows to mask inside instead of outside. You can move your mask in or out by the expansion parameters here. And you can provide a degree transition between two fields by feather. By increasing the feather value, I make the black layer look like a vignette. And then with mask expansion, I'm moving my mask line out a little bit. By reducing the opacity value, I make my vignette look more transparent. And congratulations, you made your first visual effects work successfully. In the next lesson, we will work on how to move these layers.